Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fe Alexis Felicilda, and this afternoon I will be reporting about the face to face communication in business communication. But before that, let us know the objectives first. After completing this unit, you will be able to first learn the unique power and of continuing need for face-to-face communication in an electronic age. Second, differentiate individual versus group interaction. Third, describe effective listening and its relationship to communication. So what is face-to-face communication? I think most of us naman siguro kabaloon sa pasabot ani, right? But for us to deeply understand what this means, face-to-face communication is the exchange of information, thoughts, and feelings between the sender and the recipient. Face-to-face communication takes place during one-on-one discussions, informal groups, meetings, and more. So this face-to-face communication, it refers to the interaction between two or more people, na ay sender and then na ay receiver, where everyone or both is in direct contact with each other. So for example, me and my friend, nagkita guno mi and then nag-istoryanay. So it's either na ako giingon niya and then siya nang mo-respond or na siya giingon nako and then ako ang mo-respond. So in that situation, na ay in exchange of information nga nahitabo. In the words of Till and Bovey, face-to-face communication is the richest medium because it is personal. So personal nimong makaharap or makit-an ka ng imuhang ka-communicate or ka-interact. It provides immediate feedback, it transmits information from both verbal and non-verbal case, and it conveys the emotion behind the message. So, one of its advantages sa face-to-face communication because you can see the people's reaction like facial expression and body language. Like for example, sa klase, makita man na nato if that person ba is listening or are they taking the discussion seriously or basig naa na siya diha present pero wala day siya nanimati kay ang iyang hunahuna to sa layo. So mabala na nato or their tone of voice, the way they talk or the way they respond. Kung normal ra ba ng ilahang tono or basing nikalit nagdako ilahang tingog kay nangisog na dahil siya nimo kay wala ganais imong gipangsulti or something. And also, you can have the chance to ask questions if naa kay wala nasabtan. Mehrabian communication model. So, as you can see na ay given nga pie graph diha, I don't know if pie graph ba na siya. So, speaking in person is by far most of the effective method of oral communication. Research by a University of California, Los Angeles psychology professor emeritus Albert Mehrabian reveals that in a conversation, 7% of the meaning is conveyed through actual words. 38% of how the words are said, including the tone of voice, and 55% of the communication occurs through the facial expression. This means that when you see and hear someone, you are getting the most from them. So, as you can see in the picture, kanang may color yellow, na siya 7%. It's the actual words that makes up the message during the conversation or communication. And then, kanang color blue, it contains 38%. It's the voice or our vocal language. Mas dako siya percentage kasi sa words. So, pay attention to the pitch, pace, tone, and volume of the voice. So these cues provide powerful insights into a speaker's true feelings. And then the remaining 55% takes place through the body language or our motion and our facial expression. So this often surprises many people as they think the words makes up the most of the communication. Pero actually, dili di ay, because stated there, we only use 7% of the words during a communication. Mas dako ang body language which contains 55%. Kung unsay atong actions and behavior during the communication, because this is where most people's perception are formed from what they can see. Therefore, interpersonal conversation, including multi-person meetings, have a greater chance of yielding understanding than other form of oral speech. In part, It is because oral communication is exchanged by non-verbal facial expression. Effective managers and employees need to know when email and other written and electronic meetings are not getting the job done. Walking over to someone's desk or calling a meeting can often get people on the same page faster. So, just like sa previous slide, so niingon si Dr. Albert Merivian, even if walay voice or words, we can still do able to communicate with others through demonstrating body language. So, like for example, when you ask your friend if okay ra ba siya or unsay problema niya, they might be using words to say that yes, they are, but their tone and body language must be making it clear that they are not. So maybe makita natos ilang nawo nga dili day sila okay. So next is muna siya duha ka interaction in a communication. First na individual interaction. It involves face-to-face relationship between the sender and the receiver of a message. It is characterized by a strong feedback component. It, Communication is enhanced when the relationship over a long period of time. So in this interaction, nara joy duha ka tawo nga involved or nag-istoryahanay. So for example, two friends talking. So next is group interaction. Group interaction involves three or more persons. A group consists of small collection of people who interact with each other, usually face to face, over time in order to reach goals. So in this communication or interaction, naay three or more nga participants na ang involved. It's the dynamic of the team and the way the member of the group interact with one another. So next is the advantages and disadvantages of the two given interaction. So for individual interaction, its advantages can communicate using their style, can be more open. So sa individual interaction, naa kay freedom, especially if ang imong kaistorya kay close nimo or komportable ka. Like your friend, di ba? Mas free ka nga makig-istorya niya, mas komportable ka, and pwede nimong isulti tanan ang gusto mong isulti. Napoy uban kung naay kalataw-an ng topic, manghapak, di ba? It's because komportable ka sa tao nga imong kaistorya. And then sa disadvantages, may feel they are being singled out, may not be comfortable communicating with someone in a higher level position, age and gender challenges. So, in this situation, example ani is kanang talking with a teacher. So, when we are talking with a teacher or anyone who has a higher level or older than us, maka-feel tag uneasiness. So, kailangan the way ta musulti kailangan be respectful and watchful ta sa atong words nga ipanulti kay basin maalaan ta nga way respetar ning bataan ni walay pamatasan ning tawhanan no. So for us to avoid nga masultian tag ana, kailangan tang mo respect when talking to them. So next is group interaction. Its advantage is that opportunity to ask questions and seek clarification from each other, avoid potential communication problems. So we all have the right to ask questions if naatay dili masabtan. Maybe one of the group or member of that group nakabalo or makatubag sa imong questions. So matubag nila ang imong wala kasabti so makasabot na ka. And then sa disadvantage niya is some are less likely than others to actively communicate in a group sessions. So kani is naay uban ingani ka na ganing maupi so maulaw sila nga mo cooperate or mo communicate sa uban nga mga member sa grupo kay kanang dili sila komportable anang tawo kay dili sila close so maulaw sila. So next is effective listening. Hearing and listening. So before that, I have a sample statement here. Is it possible to listen without hearing? And is it possible to hear without listening? So kana nga statement medyo makalibog siya sa possible ba? But we'll find that out later. Have you ever heard someone say, "You might be hearing me but not listening to me"? So, stated here, hearing is simply perceiving sound, while listening, on the other hand, means paying attention to the sound. So, naay times nga, nanibatik tuod ka, pero lapos pikas dalunggan. So, munang gingon nila nga, you might be hearing me but not listening to me. So hearing is passive, involuntary, and requires no effort. So for example, if you're watching television, bisan pag-focus ng imong attention sa imong gilantaw, there's still a chance that you will hear the sound of vehicles from the outside, or dog barking, or manok balihang tilaok. So bisan pag-focus ang imong attention, listening is active, voluntary, and requires no effort. While sa listening, you need to pay attention to the sound that you've been hearing. In turn, you may develop an emotion response to what you hear. So example, during this discussion, if you listen and pay attention to the discussion, of course, makasabot jud ka sa gidiscuss. Because you gave importance to what you hear, gi-process na sa imong utok, so naakay na learn. So next is effective listening. There is a saying from Dalton Kehoe, they stop listening to us because they start listening to themselves. And then another one from Hugo Powell, listening, whether done by individuals or by companies and government, is a signal of respect. When people don't feel listened to, they don't feel respected. And when they don't feel respected, they feel anger and resentment. This resentment is exacerbated if people think you're pretending to listen but aren't. So, that is the end of the part of my reporting. Thank you for listening.